and welcome to another edition of Monroeville at your service. I'm your Municipal Manager, Alex Graziani, back with the April 2025 edition of our show. Well, spring has officially sprung in the area, but on today's show, we'll get a little dose of summer. And that's because joining me in studio today is a special guest, the Congresswoman of the 12th District of Pennsylvania. Congresswoman Summer Lee, welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me. I love that.
Yeah, it is like summer can't come too soon. So maybe you're like going to bring it in for us.
That's always my plan. I am not a cold weather person. So I'm always just trying to bring a warmer vibe. We deserve it here.
Yeah, I always wonder, like 100 years ago when my ancestors moved here, what were they thinking? Did they look at the weather?
No, they couldn't have possibly.
Yeah.
It's getting colder, it feels.
Yeah, so welcome to the show. Welcome to Monroeville at your service. Second term Congresswoman.
Yeah.
You just got sworn in earlier this year. Is it slowing down for you anything in Washington?
My God, it isn't.
Okay.
It is not.
What do you think? There was a little crazy stuff going on this year.
There's a little bit going on. You know, it's funny because I remember when I first got in and I was talking to, my predecessor, Congressman Mike Doyle. And, he was saying, well, it's like your first go around, it's busy, you're getting to know everything. He's like, it actually takes a couple before things slow down a little bit more even at home. Yeah. And, add that to just all the changes, the transitions that are happening in D.C., that we feel at the local level. I mean, it feels like there's never a moment. Never a moment. And that's okay, because folks sent us there to do hard work. They sent us there to represent them even when it's not easy. And we're in those days. So I don't know if there's going to be any slowing down anytime soon, but.
I relate. For me, and being in local government and managers, it's a lot like human development. A 2-year-old can maybe feed themselves and dress themselves, but they're not very good at it. And this is my second year as municipal manager, and it just takes a while to learn a lot. And I can't imagine, 700,000 people in the district and the territories in Westmoreland County here in Allegheny County, just that alone, besides the Washington side of it, you have a huge constituency.
I think so many people underestimate both of those things, how big and diverse our district is and how much there is to learn. I think that when we first got in the first term, a lot of people were like, oh, you should have everything, offices, things. We came with nothing, and we're proud of that. We started an office from literal scratch. Yeah. We didn't have phone numbers. We didn't have paper or pencils, right? So we started from nothing and really just slowly, sometimes fast, built and built and built. And we believe that we built a foundation that is really going to be useful for the 755,000 people. That's why we have our brick and mortar in, East Liberty, but we've been spreading across the district because we want to make sure that whether you live in Jeanette, or if you live in the city of Pittsburgh or in the South Hills or Monroeville, that you can reach us, that we're accessible, that you know where to find us. Because people are all over the district, all over the ideological spectrum, all over even race and geography. We have urban and suburban and even a little bit of rural. And we bring all of that for a very, very unique perspective in the House caucus in D.C.
And we're excited because we're having mobile stuff here for your offices, and we're delighted to be able to have that and host that on a regular basis. It's important that constituents be able to get access to the Congresswoman. And
for them to know that we're here. Yeah. We've, I think, been able to serve thousands of folks since we've gotten in, and it's everything from Social Security and Medicare, Veterans Affairs. I think the thing that we've probably done maybe unexpectedly more than anything is passports. Our passports, we've done a lot of helping people expedite those, but a lot of things where people felt hopeless, just buried in bureaucracy, and they were able to call somebody in our office. And like that, not always, but sometimes that was the needed push to help get their case over the finish line. Sometimes we have to say that, this is awful, and we got to do a little bit more prodding. Sometimes we're able to connect them to people who can help, and it's not us. But being there as a liaison, being there as sometimes a bridge for, these government services that are so frustrating. And people knowing that we can help them with that has made a difference.
Yeah, I'm kind of smiling because you and I had a conversation with one of our council members, Bob Williams, and he's very concerned about the post office here in Monroeville. and the removal of the accessible boxes that people could drive up and put their mail in.
Exactly.
And when he met with you, it's something you guys are going to work on or help, but it's sort of like always as easy as, pick up the phone and make it happen. It's a little bit more harder.
We wish that we love the cases where it's as easy as like we pick up the phone and they're like, all right, you got us. And sometimes that happens. Rarely.
So we'll see. Maybe the post office will restore those.
But you know what? But again, as we talked, when we talked about it, we got to share kind of like, listen, here's what has happened with post offices in other areas. And these are the contacts that we've been able to get because we've already had to work on it. So that's one of those ones that might be a little trickier, but it's one of those things that our staff were diligent.
Yeah.
If there is an answer, they will find it.
Excellent. So this isn't new to you altogether, though, because before Congress, you were a PA House representative. Yeah. How many terms did you serve in the PA House?
I did 2 terms there.
Excellent. Okay, so the big question for me is what motivated you to decide to go from involved politically to I'm running for office?
Oh, my goodness. I think a feeling that there's so much more that we can get out of our representation. I think that it's funny because I think everybody thinks that something needs to change, but everybody is a little bit afraid of prodding and like doing the things that need to change, right?
Change is sort of like your middle name, though, because you've sort of done that.
a little bit, change, agitation, no. I just think, I'm somebody who, we talk about how all politics are local. I was somebody who I never knew a politician. My mom ran for school board a really long time ago, so long ago that I didn't even remember it. Didn't remember that part of her life even existed, or mine. And I didn't know local politicians very well, and I saw people who felt hopeless, not apathetic. I think sometimes we say people are apathetic, and I think that that's wrong. I think that people feel hopeless. I feel like they feel like the system isn't tangible for them, that they might have a concern, but they don't know where to go. Right, to figure it out. And then obviously like the deeper, more systemic things that I think can change, neighborhoods that, don't have as many resources as others. I just felt like that was an opportunity running, particularly when I ran at the state level. That was an opportunity to talk about how sometimes inequality is cyclical. Yeah. Sometimes people just need to feel like they have a stake in the system. So I started organizing actually, not doing politics directly. I started organizing, and finally I had to ask myself, can I go somewhere, or can I ask someone to go somewhere that I wasn't willing to go myself? And that's how I ended up running.
So 10 years ago, did you think it would happen this fast, that you would be in Washington, D.C., representing the part of the Pittsburgh Metro?
I think 10 years ago, I had just graduated from law school, and fun fact about me, I have a deep fear of running for things. Okay. In fact, when I was at Woodland Hills, I was on the basketball team, the track team, and I was in the marching band. I was the drum major of the marching band.
Oh, nice.
And I quit all of those things when I went to Penn State because I was that afraid of trying out. Huh. So no, I never imagined that I would be in politics. Never in my wildest dreams. Even I started running at 29. 27-year-old Summer would never have conceived that this would be in my life.
So did you have a mentor, somebody who said, hey, you can do this?
Not really.
Really?
I had very ambitious organizers and activists and, people who were on the ground working on things, right? Housing or, really labor issues, a living wage, who were like, we need some representation. And they were like, well, why don't you run? I've never been mentored. It's why I actually try to be way more accessible to young people. Just so that they know what their opportunities are.
It is quite remarkable because you're a young person in Congress, no doubt, that for how long you've come, that I would think you'd have like a list of those.
No.
So how do you try? I mean, because you're a super busy person, right? I mean, how do you try to make yourself accessible, maybe to staff members or other people, to walk alongside them? Because I just imagine your schedule is very packed.
Sometimes. Yeah. I mean, it should be packed all the time, and it is. But you make time for things that are important. I think we have a couple ways, right? We have internship programs, both in our DC office and our Pittsburgh offices. We attract young people every semester who want to come. They don't want to just get into politics. They want to, not because they want to stack a resume, which I think that was like the traditional route. You meet, and that's not a problem, right? We meet so many young people who are like, I want to be president one day. Like they know it. So they're like, I got to go to a congressional office. I have to get a White House internship. You always get those types. Yeah. But we actually get types of folk, young people who are like, actually, I want to change the world. I don't know what that looks like yet. I'm interested in politics, or sometimes they're interested in the arts. We get people whose interests are not directly always like political science, but they come here because maybe we spoke at their school, which I've, had the opportunity to do a lot. They've come because they see me go, or they've seen me speak at a rally. Mm-hmm. And there are young people who are like, that interests me. Housing interests me. Stopping gun violence in our schools. That's a real motivator for young people. And they come to our office and we get to spend time with them and they get to meet our staff.
If someone wants to be an intern, how would they even start?
I would tell them to reach out to my district team. In fact, actually, when we start our satellite offices, they'll be here, right here in Monroeville, and they can come and meet them in person. But, email us, call us, DM us. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on TikTok. TikTok still exists. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, any of those places, shoot your shot, young people. And not just young people, shoot your shot, anybody who is interested in community service.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe that we're having this conversation because you are a person that, again, busy schedule, but for us in Monroeville, what can we do to work alongside you? I mean, what can we do, or what should we be doing to work with our Congresswoman?
Yeah, I love that question because, at the end of the day, service is not partisan. When we are striving to make sure that our neighborhoods are safest, that they are, accessible, that people feel welcomed in our neighborhoods, it takes all of us. It takes every level of government, and not just government officials. It takes our civic, organizations, all of us working together, and we want to do that. That's why, the satellite office is just one way. It brings us closer to you all. So that you can, when you get people who come to you with their issues, sometimes they have issues that are in our jurisdiction. But now that we're right here, it helps us, and vice versa. We get issues that are in your jurisdiction, but now we have this relationship. Sometimes when big things are coming up in DC or in Monroeville, us knowing at the beginning helps us both advocate better. Right? If Monroeville has a project that they're interested in, the more we know about it, the better we're able to go back to DC and fight like hell.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to say that?
Yeah, you are, right, Jared? So I know, we've talked about our convention center and the reality of Monroeville being a gateway community. It's a reality that hundreds of thousands of visitors and tourists make their way. And those are jobs. There are people in our hospitality industry, in our hotels, and our restaurants. So for us, it was important for our elected officials when our convention center was leaving that we acted to get it to stay. And we're having communications with you because not everybody maybe can afford or has a large enough show to go downtown to David Lawrence. But we got to have in the eastern part of Allegheny County and western Westmoreland an opportunity for convention center. And we've had discussions about, could there be earmark opportunities, other kinds of opportunities that we can enhance the building, maybe decrease its environmental load, its energy use, make it more efficient, charging stations, solar panels, all kinds of ideas to make it a better facility. And I think we're going to be able to partner on that because that's leading to real jobs here in Monroeville.
And that's the key, right? When we think about projects, whether we're restoring municipal buildings or convention centers or building new things, those are jobs. They're local, they engage the community itself. And when we do it best, right, we are bringing in the talent, the resources that are sitting right here, just waiting to be activated. And we want to do that. When we fight for earmarks, for instance, obviously, we expected that process might change a little. It's a new administration, and with that comes new guidelines. Sometimes it comes new priorities, but we know what our priorities are. And we're so grateful that over the last few years, we've been able to really tap into the dollars that came in for Inflation Reduction Acts, which are environmental dollars. When we talk about the solar panels, the EV, putting those on our projects have helped our region attract more dollars, more resources, create more jobs, and then create more sustainable, infrastructure for us. we're going to keep fighting for those because we know they work. Because Western Pennsylvania is the proof point that when we invest those type of dollars in sustainability, in infrastructure, in jobs, that they translate to generational wealth, generational opportunity, and we don't want those to go away. So we're going to need your help to advocate for that.
And I want us to be top of mind when you think about, what are the economic engines of the district? Where are the jobs created? And
this is a gateway. Is that why the school district is called Gateway?
Exactly. Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah, and it's in so many ways the metaphor works. Obviously, Pittsburgh, back to Lewis and Clark, but we're the gateway into the gateway, right? So it works really well. So for us, I want you to always be top of the mind. That Monroeville's an economic engine.
Oh yeah.
And what we talk about these things, it's not just new greenfield development. It's about redeveloping in existing communities and retaining and enhancing the workforce opportunities that are here. This place, whether it was Westinghouse or U.S. Steel, our history is so deep in technology and great jobs, but
innovation, manufacturing.
Those have slipped from us, and they're not as predominant as they once were. So we really need to be forefront in the conversations.
But can I add, just thinking about, I'm not going to call them surprising industries that are not just in the city, but in Monroeville itself. I think about the tech industry. I think about robotics, space, science, and I see that starting to blossom right here in Monroeville.
And that's one of your committee assignments.
It was. My committee. I was on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee where we got to dive into, I think, so much that's going to help really catapult Western Pennsylvania into the new, economies and industries of the future. We are already starting to lead there, but just that extra prod. I moved to education and labor, which I think is equally important. Yeah. I call myself SST Emeritus, though, because I still care about it. The region still cares about it. And because of it, we get to meet some of the people who are doing innovation work right here in Monroeville. And they are looking to build out, right? They're looking to attract not just people to the city, obviously, but right here, right? Where people already live, where we have housing, where we have good schools, where we have all the things that people would want to live by, whether it's shopping or restaurants. It makes Monroeville the perfect place, to really build out this new economy and these new industries. So we want to be able to lift that up, to invest in it, to hopefully, not just attract people from the region, to keep them in the region, but maybe some of those folks from, Silicon Valley, right? Some of those students from CMU, we don't want them to leave. We want them to come over here.
2-bedroom bungalow in some of those places are $1.2 million. Here, it's a little bit more affordable than it is there. So thinking back 10 years from now, where do you see Summer Lee?
Listen, I just told you that 10 years ago, I couldn't see where Summer Lee was going to be. I just hope, honestly, I don't want to doomsday. 10 years from now, I hope that we've just made it out of this tension point that we're in. I hope that, we've helped to lead us to a stronger democracy, right? That doesn't just exist, but really is reflective of all of us, all of our country and the potential that exists there. I hope I still, have a job. As long as I'm needed in this space, I want to be able to be in it. And if it comes a time where, I can be useful somewhere else, then I hope that I'm adaptable and flexible to go there. But I would love to continue to serve people. I would love to continue to lift up the unique perspectives that Western Pennsylvania, they just abound here. When I went to DC, everybody I met had some tie to Western Pennsylvania. It was so cool. Yeah. And and we have a tie to the larger world. Everything that is big and nationwide is also very local to us. Yeah. And I want to be working on those things. I don't know how it would be, but hopefully still doing it.
You mentioned your mother had a call for public service. You seem to really love public service. So 10 years from now, that's what you'll be all about, huh?
I hope so. I don't want to be in corporate America. I have a law degree. I'm licensed to practice. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that as much as I want to do this. And it's hard. But I think that right now, what is happening in our nation, in our world, right? We just need new perspectives to help to usher us into what is the next phase of American, society, of our country. And I want to be a part of that. And I want Western Pennsylvania to have a say in that. I don't want us to be left out when people are talking about the next big things that are going to happen.
No, it's been a challenge. You mentioned Western Pennsylvania having a lot of ties, and it's partly because we did a sport. We exported a lot of young people for decades, and how do we keep the young people here? How do our communities sustain and grow? and not just, as we were talking even earlier before we got on air, about the congressional districts getting bigger because the Pennsylvania delegation is getting smaller. Hopefully it doesn't continue to be our story. 2035, that's 10 years from now. It's hard to imagine that number is out there, and we're getting closer to it all the time. Congresswoman Summer Lee, I'm so thankful that you took the time to be on our show today. Any last words for Monroeville?
No, just come to our satellite office.
Yes.
Let us know how we can help you. Let us know what your needs are. We want to hear them, right? It doesn't matter if it's what you think is different than what I think. What makes my job valuable and important is me being able to take your perspective back to DC. So whether it's Social Security or Veterans Affairs or just local, we want to know. We want to hear you. So we'll be here. We'll be here at the municipal building twice a month, and we can't wait to meet you.
If you got one thing from this woman is amazing, got a lot of energy, so many subjects and so much information, and so hardworking, I think, for us. We're really pleased to have you. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much.
On the way next, our police take a plunge, and I'll have the Manager's Minute on our Monroeville values. Back with Monroeville at your service in just a moment.